women's bodies are actually physically putting themselves back together for a year after having a baby. Video. I'm here to talk about something that is really important, and I hope that everyone who is intended to tune in finds their way to this video because it is not talked about enough and is probably more common than you think. So here we go with talking about postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. So I'm sure that a lot of people have heard this before. Casually, people will call it postpartum without saying what comes after it. And I think that almost implies a general sentiment around it that exists in society, which is that there's some stuff that happens after a baby is born and it's all weird, it's all funky, and it has a negative connotation on it. But it's important, I think, to really learn about it as well as just talk about it, because the more awareness there is, the more understanding, the more information, and ultimately the more support that there can be for moms like myself. So with both of my children, I experienced different forms of postpartum depression and anxiety, and a lot of the times I was experiencing it, or for the majority of the time I was experiencing it without knowing that I was experiencing it, because I didn't think that there was enough support and resources out there to let me know, like, this is what you're dealing with, girl. So just to break it down, postpartum depression. So postpartum depression is like depression, if you know and understand the symptoms that come with depression. Lack of motivation, lack of energy, lack of interest in doing things. That sort of depressive state can be induced with postpartum, and also anxiety, postpartum anxiety, stress, unease, paranoia, that sort of thing can come with postpartum. So being postpartum usually refers to like the 4 months after having a baby, being the 4th trimester, but postpartum actually includes the entire year, if not more, after having a baby. My daughter just turned 1 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I just realized that I have postpartum anxiety like a month before that. That's how long it takes for your body to go back to normal. And it's not talked about enough. I think a lot of people, because physically, if you were already in shape, if you were quite fit beforehand, physically, a lot of people may snap back very quickly right away. And there's been a lot online about the snapback and being physically in shape, and moms wanting their pre-mom body back. So there's a lot having to do with the physical aspect of it, but I think that really detracts from the rest of it. When we focus too much on the physicality of it, we forget. A mom may snap back physically. I was back to my pre-pregnancy weight and almost my pre-pregnancy size by 2 or 3 months after having my daughter. But as you can see, she's almost a year old now, and I have postpartum anxiety. At maybe 9 months postpartum, I had postpartum shedding. And this comes with a slew of roller coaster emotions as your hormones are trying to balance themselves again. Depression and anxiety are caused by hormonal imbalances. And these are things that hormonal imbalance is like basically home ground territory for pregnancy and postpartum and breastfeeding. Postpartum anxiety for me has manifested in these ways, and it doesn't have to be the same for everybody. Feeling paranoia leaving the house with both babies. And I talked myself out of it being anxiety for a while and talked myself into it just being a symptom of living in a quarantine, having 2 babies under 2, and feeling like I don't have enough arms, or I want to keep them safe from, COVID, whatever it is. I talked myself into thinking it was all those things. Now, granted, we have a lot going on this past year generally. So a lot of people do have increased anxiety because of COVID. But for me, I realized that it didn't actually have to do with COVID. Even the places that were not around anyone else, going to the park, or even seeing the doctor for a regular checkup, like all those things were really freaking me out. And then I started to realize that it wasn't just leaving the house with 2 babies, but it was also trying to attempt to get any task done with both babies. Being under my care became very, very anxiety inducing for me. And it's still something that I'm still working through, how to have something that I want to get done, understand that the babies are going to probably cause throw wrenches in the plans, and still just be hopping on that plan and finding comfort and knowing that there's a point to it and there will be an outcome that is a good one. Not the whole, I'm gonna throw in the towel and I'm not gonna do anything with them because I'm sure that something's going to happen and something's going to go wrong, and I'm starting to worry about all the different ways that something could possibly go wrong, and that is anxiety. That is postpartum anxiety is, you know, my hormones are telling me different mixed signals information about what's safe and what's not, about what's okay and what's not. And I think that in the past, it may have been something that I was able to talk myself into thinking, this is me being a good mom by playing out all the different scenarios and picking the best one for me and my children. I thought that I was being a good mother by, you know, being like, you know, just being thorough and thinking things through, being well thought out. But it's actually overthinking. So overthinking is a huge symptom of anxiety and postpartum anxiety. And it's just something that like I am so still battling. Like, if you find yourself not being able to be in your body, not being able to be present because you're overthinking so much, then you're probably stressed, so you probably have anxiety. Or if you see that you have a friend who's a mom and this is how she seems, like she's so flustered, so all over the place. I mean, they call these things mom brain. They call these things postpartum. They call these things whatever they're trying to call them, for like, I don't know, kind of like a cuter word that just doesn't have to address the actual issue. It feels like, oh, mom brain, that's cute. Like you just had a baby, so you're all over the place. Probably you're just mom brain. Like, no, this is a real thing. My brain is literally not at its functioning capability. Chemically, physically, my brain has gone through like hurdles and jumped through hoops. So I am actually dealing with a brain issue right now. It is not just cute mom brain, you know? And that is a thing for postpartum, the postpartum period, like forgetting, having memory loss. So I just thought that these might be little things that you might be able to pick up on for your own self or for people that you know. And I just figured this is a pretty strong video to get out there to make sure that there's more awareness and more information. I didn't think that I could move forward making any other videos for you all before I addressed this, and largely name this as the main thing that's kept me from vlogging, from being on YouTube, and from expressing my own creative writing for the past year or so. This has been keeping me from it because it's more of my patterned ways of thinking and my state of mind that caused me to shut down, you know, options, opportunities, paths before I get down them, because I'm so worried about, I don't know, things not going to plan, things going off, like derailing, things like that. So that's actually largely kept me from vlogging and making YouTube content. And I just figured that is really an important thing to share with the community, is how important and how many of us are affected by this in smaller ways, maybe not as much of a crippling way for you. But for me, I think it really caused me to miss out on some things with my children this year because I was really like worried about doing it. For anyone else who's not postpartum or knowing any moms and you feel like you can identify with some of these things I'm saying and you may find yourself having anxious patterns of thinking, please make sure to reach out to someone, a friend, a family member, or to find a therapist, because you don't have to go through this alone, and you're not alone. You're not the only one dealing with this, and the way that you're thinking, if it's hurting you, then yeah, you do need to do something about it. My advice is meditation. Like actively clearing your mind and body and soul. I think I will be sharing another video with y'all on how I like to meditate and how I like to find my center, because that can be really tough, you know, with 2 toddlers. So thanks for checking in, guys. I will see you in the next one.